In this video, I'm going to give you some context to the speech made by Hassan Nasrallah today. Hassan Nasrallah is the leader of Hezbollah. Hezbollah has been firing at Israel since roughly October 7th or October 8th on the Lebanese front in Israel. Hassan Nasrallah answers supremely to the Iranian regime, and he truly controls Hezbollah forces in Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq, as well as elsewhere throughout the world, probably Venezuela, a few other South American countries. Anyways, Nasrallah started off his speech by praising all of the so-called martyrs that have died, whether in the Gaza Strip or Iraq or Syria or Lebanon, essentially from this war and kind of throughout the ages, and promising that if they are a martyr for Hezbollah or for the against the Israeli occupation, probably the Americans for that matter, that they are promised heaven and eternity in paradise, the whole 72 virgins thing. So he does everything and prefaces everything that he says by promising eternal life and paradise to those who do the fighting and the dying. And I think that's very important to remember as the background to his entire speech, because this guy is a master manipulator, as are all of the leaders of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iranian regime. They are able to carry out these attacks by these willing fighters, because the willing fighter is planning on eternity in paradise with their 72 virgins. And it is this longing for basically an eternity of sexual gratification. Okay. So him promising that at the outset of his speech is basically, I think, indicative of what he's really trying to get across to everybody. And that is, be patient. Our time is coming. And the fight, the true fight, is not actually here yet, but we're very close. So a couple takeaways with several quotations provided by Mario Nawfal, who I follow on Twitter. One quotation was, Operation Al-Aqsa Flood was decided 100% Palestinian. Its implementation was 100% Palestinian, and its owners hid it from everyone. What he's doing there is he's distancing himself and his regime and Iran from what happened on October 7th, orchestrated by Hamas. Now, we know it was orchestrated by the Iranians and Hezbollah and Hamas, all in conjunction with one another. And he's trying to distance himself because he is not seeking to have some preemptive attack happen now, in the hopes that it dissuades them from doing something in the future, nor does he want a attack of retribution from Israel or the United States for what happened on October 7th. So he's trying to put some distance between him and what happened on October 7th so that they're not held responsible for anything. Smart move on his part. Secondly, he says, we've made preparations for the American ships, and we ask America to remember their defeats in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. You remember Lebanon, the Beirut bombing of the Marine Corps barracks. They killed somewhere around 240 Marines at that point in time. And he's trying to bring to our remembrance all of our defeats over the years. And I mean, he is right to point out our defeat in Afghanistan. That's something we're all pretty pissed off about 2 years ago. And what he's saying is they have preparations for the American ships. We definitely are vulnerable in that region of the Mediterranean because there is a capability possessing hypersonic missiles within some of the regime with Iran, whether it's something that they produce or something that they buy or borrow from the Russians or possibly the North Koreans or the Chinese. There is definitely a threat to our warships in the area. And him saying that they've made preparations, what it is, it's saber rattling. To go on, he says, whoever wants to prevent a regional war must hasten to stop this aggression. What he's doing there in saying, if you don't want a regional war, if you don't want the entire Middle East to blow up into a giant mess, you need to stop this aggression. His ultimate goal in saying something like this is to position himself, Hezbollah, the Lebanese people, as the victims that will eventually defend themselves from aggression. He has to deal with a population there in Lebanon and Beirut where a lot of these people don't even want Hezbollah there. There's disagreement, it seems, between the Lebanese government and Hezbollah. And what he doesn't want to do is drag Hezbollah into this war with Israel and potentially the United States, and it be Hezbollah's fault. If the war happens and, Beirut and all these areas are getting blown apart by U.S. and Israeli forces, he doesn't want it to be his fault. He wants it to be the fault of the Americans or the Israelis, and they want to be able to finger point and say, it's because you did this, you overcalculated, you overadjusted, and ultimately you've gone too far. And then they can cry on the world stage and say the Americans and the Israelis are a bunch of warmongers. They want to look like a victim. Lastly, he says, on the horizon, we are all fighting a battle of steadfastness. Our battle has not reached the stage of victory by knockout, and we still need time, but we are winning. He's asking for patience. It's a battle that goes on. This is technically a battle that's gone on through many, many years. He's right in saying that. But he's positioning his people to be patient with what's going on. And I think that we're going to continue to see this back and forth between Hezbollah and Israel for a time. Now, at some point, someone's going to overcalculate and what he wants for the Israelis to overcalculate and do something more preemptive and devastating in order to draw Hezbollah into the fight. And then Hezbollah can act like the victim and that they're just doing this to stop Israeli aggression. So a couple philosophical things about this. You got to remember, some of the rules of war, I would say, like from Sun Tzu, the great Chinese warlike philosopher. And it's when you're planning to fight, pretend that you're not wanting to fight. You need to look the opposite of what you actually want to do. So if you want to go to war, you need to act like you don't want to go to war. If you want to be the aggressor, act like the victim. And that's what he's doing here. Also, to all that, when you are strong, pretend that you're weak. So he's putting himself out there and basically saying, we're not here for the fight. We are here for protection and defense. And I think that's the whole goal of his argument there. Obviously, Hassan Nasrallah is a liar, and he serves a god of lies. And he manipulates his people through lying and promising things that he can never deliver on, through things that he's completely wrong about. And, that's going to continue to go on. So it's not that you can take the man at his word. Everything that he says is a lie and falsehood. And that needs to be underlined throughout everything that he says. So we'll obviously see what happens. Who knows what's going to happen? I think one of the big things about all the wars that we've seen over the last, say 20 years, and you could go farther than that, but let's say 20 years. Going into the war, we all thought that this one thing here was the thing that was going to happen. Take Iraq, for instance. We'll go in there, knock out Saddam Hussein, and replace the whole place with a great, peaceful, democratic government. The people can vote, and women can have rights and drive cars and go to school and read books and stuff. Flash forward 14 years. Was that the case? Absolutely not. Completely different circumstance and scenario that nobody saw coming. No one saw coming that after we go in there and topple Saddam Hussein, we're going to deal with Al-Qaeda for like 8 to 10 years. We're going to pull out. ISIS is going to move in. We are going to actually work with Hezbollah and fund them in certain ways so that they can come in there and overtake ISIS. And then in doing so, through all of that, Iran will have Hezbollah access from Iran across Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon so they can hit Israel today. And possibly what's going on today is a culmination of everything that's happened over there in at least the last 20 years, if not all the way to like 1948. If not all the way back into the times of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So with that, I'm done. Like the video, share it with somebody. Be in prayer for our forces. We've got guys over there that need our prayers right now, and who knows what's going to happen with all this. See you next time.